This is my story about Jeffrey Epstein. I was in St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands, in 2005. I was having a first-class vacation there thanks to a challenge I had given to myself the previous year, that I would find a way to come back to that area and have an incredible trip. And that's a longer story for another day. And I was out on a sailboat that day, myself and a handful of other people. And at the time, you have to remember that 2005, Jeffrey Epstein was actually the man about New York City. He was featured in New York Magazine. He was this good-looking young financier who had all these connections. He was considered in New York City back then a total catch. Now, I had not heard of him. I had just started working in finance, but the woman on my sailboat did. And because we were sailing out of St. John, his island was very close by. And at the time, presume it's still the case, the United States has this rule that anywhere that is a United States beach, one could access from the ocean. So our sailboat was sailing very close to his island. And this woman, who was a bit of a matchmaker, was trying to enroll me in this very handsome financier that's the talk of the town. And she's like, you're in finance, he's in finance. I think we should try to get you an introduction to Jeffrey Epstein. And I was like, okay, because what did I know about him? Nothing. Except that he was, man about town, according to New York Magazine and all these other press junkets that PS were promoting him left and right. So she's like, I think we should jump off the sailboat because we were so close to his island and it was all beach. And, the United States, as long as it's a U.S.-based beach, you're allowed to go on somebody's beach. So she's like, why don't we jump off the sailboat and let's just, hang out on shore and see if we can get an introduction. And at one point, she actually was yelling, hey, Jeffrey, come and meet Kim, because she was just being, a wild card. Thank God he didn't come to the boat. Thank God nobody came near us. I was waiting actually for security to come and give us a hard time that we were so close to the island. But she's like, we're allowed to go on his beach because it's United States access. You have that anywhere, Kim, as long as we're in the U.S. territories. And we were. We were in the U.S. Virgin Islands, not and that's where his island was, in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So what does this story tell you guys? Well, it tells a couple of things for me. It tells me that how much grace is a part of our journey. Grace is something that none of us have any control over, but boy, does it save our ass on many occasions. And that's why I feel it's important to share this story with you. Why am I even sharing it with you? Because every single day, our lives are so fragile. God help me if that man had come down to see what the shenanigans were about, right? God help me if I ever had stepped foot on that island. I was probably too old, obviously, based on his taste of being children, for God's sakes. But we are constantly, potentially in incredibly life-changing situations, and the only thing that ever protects us sometimes, and it doesn't always, is grace. And I just want to say that no matter how hard you work, right? No matter how well you intend to try to go about things, there are variables that you will never even know about, and angels that protect you that you don't even know about. That woman meant well. She was like, oh, she's single. Let me try to hook her up with a man who's very successful, right? In fact, she even wrote me a note after that trip with a link telling me to go check out this article about him. I mean, I haven't found that note. It's like in one of my souvenir boxes, but she actually was still committed to try to set me up with him and wrote me a note where she's like, so Jeffrey Epstein, check him out. I think you guys should still get together. So anyway, just a little moment to realize that no matter how hard you work, no matter how well-meaning you might be, there are going to be situations that are beyond your control. Who could have imagined that that man is who he turned out to be, right? Who could imagine some of the things that don't happen for you are actually in your best interest? One of my favorite movies is a movie called Sliding Doors, which allows us to see two movies in one. There's a character who catches the subway train and then she misses the subway train, and you watch what happens to her life because of those two instances. That happens almost every day for all of us. And I want you guys to realize that those variables for the good and or for the evil are not things that are always in our control. Even if you work really hard, sometimes it's just about grace. Sometimes it's just about luck. That day, I consider myself lucky and a lot of grace over me that nothing happened with that man. But I want you to look for it in your own life. Be in gratitude for all the places that you think should have gone a certain way. Maybe somebody was protecting you from something you could never have imagined.